you strike me down, I shall become more powerful than you could possibly imagine.
All right, everyone, we finally have full stats for the new reward cards coming to Splinterlands with this next season. So far, we've been begging for this. So far, we've only seen 2 of them. Guess what? All 12 of them are now up on the test server for mavs to go test. One of the perks of being a mav is you get access to the test server. These cards are now live. There is testing going on for the new reward system live on the test server. So let's go jump in, and we're gonna just go through these and go through a first look at what they are. So I've got them sorted by reward cards here, and there are 12. There are 2 for each of the 5 main splinters: fire, water, earth, life, death. 1 dragon, 1 neutral. Let's just jump in. Here is our first one. Here it's a common fire unit, Bloodmaker. Bloodmaker has scatter shot in the fire splinter, and I'm just gonna kind of give my initial thoughts on these guys. I've not done any testing with these or anything, so I'm gonna give my initial thoughts on how good I think they are, or how I plan on using them. Doesn't necessarily mean I'm right. I will most certainly be wrong on some of these, but I'll give my initial thoughts. And this one's pretty easy, I think. This screams Jotun. We've got this new ability coming with some of these cards. We'll get to that here in a second when we see one pop up on one. But that can actually reduce blast damage. Not reduce blast damage, eliminate blast damage. The card does not take any blast damage. So people are like, oh, is Jotun going to be nerfed? Is Jotun getting a nerf? Will he not be as good with this new ability on some cards? Well, that may be true, but he's got a new weapon here. For a common card, 4 scatter shot attack, and that's cripple. I'm not a big fan of cripple, but that's usually when it's hitting up front, because I don't like when cripple gets dispelled. It kind of acts like a heal. But if you get that cripple in the back line, you don't have, at least right now, there's no ability that heals up or that cleanses the back line. So that cripple becomes more valuable, in my opinion, on a scatter shot or a sneak or a snipe or something like that. So yeah, I'm really liking this, and I think that's gonna be huge for a Jotun team. Okay, let's go back. That one's simple enough, right? Okay, who else do we have? There should be another one right here. It is our first legendary card, Countess Sinash. Oh, guess what? It's another ranged card, ranged opportunity. With swiftness. Oh my goodness, this is going to be more food for Jotun. Jotun is seeing these cards and absolutely loving it. Ranged opportunity. Pair that with Jotun, you get blast. That's going to be amazing. Pair life leech with blast is something I absolutely love, because so life leech, as it says, monster's health increases each time it damages an enemy monster's health in proportion. You get half the life leech rounded up, I believe, back. So when you're doing, remember with Jotun, you get +1 ranged. You do 5 damage to the primary target, which is going to be the weakest target. If it's somewhere in the middle, you get 3 damage to the left, 3 damage to the right. That's a lot of damage. That's a lot of life leech coming back. You got affliction. Swiftness is always good. Oh, it's got camouflage, so you can't take it out. Like you see something like, I mean, maybe like Serpentine Spy is a quick opportunity card that is currently used a lot with Jotun. Obviously, different. That's a melee card. That's a much smaller mana card, but that card can sometimes be taken out kind of easily. It's got camouflage. It's gonna be hard to take it out. All right, those are fire cards. Let's go over to our water cards. The devs are not making, I guess this is the devs. The creative team is not making this easy on me with the pronunciations. Murdhamper? I'm sure I butchered that. What do we have here? More life leech. We've got a ranged water card. So far everything's ranged. I've felt like we need a water summoner that gives increased, or so that has some sort of synergy with a ranged team. I'd really like to see that. Who knows what our legendary summoner will look like, if that'll include anything. But three range damage for 4 mana. It's not bad. Maxed out. Again, it adds that cripple. I'm not a huge fan of cripple. Snare. I can really like snare in the right places. I mean, so many times you get some cards up front that have lots of dodge or something that because of flying. Snare is a very underrated ability. This is not a card that necessarily wows me though. So we will see if maybe water can ever get a summoner that boosts some range damage. So I could see it maybe in some niche situations being useful, but overall I don't look at this and say, oh yeah, this is one that wows me. This is one I really want. But not a terrible card or anything. Just not at the top of my list. Here's another one. We have a Tide Biter. Tide Biter, and this is our Reflection Shield. The first time we've seen this. Reflection Shield. The monster does not take damage from Blast, Magic Reflect Thorns, or Return Fire. So this is it's going to be a reach card, which means you can put it in the second position, which can make it a good candidate for not taking blast damage. Because a lot of times that's where, especially if you have a taunting tank or something up front, if you go with a big taunting tank, or just if there's blast that's targeting the front line, that card in the second spot is going to be the one that is very prone to blast. So that's a good spot to have that 3 melee attack for 3 mana. That's a fairly good ratio. Seems like a pretty solid card. And if you're going, again, we've got, so Deep Swimmer is one of the counters to Jotun, right? Because you've got all that return fire. Well, this could be a good card to put in the second spot for very cheap mana if you're trying to counter Jotun with a Deep Swimmer team. Put this in the second spot. It's not going to take any blast damage. You can get some of that return fire going on. I can see myself using that card. I can absolutely see myself using that card. Okay, on to Earth. Where's our Earth? Okay, we've got the Vampire Bat. Okay, you guys know I like my dodge, right? I love my dodge cards. Here can be another one. You've got flying and dodge. That means if the opponent does not have flying or snare, the opponent does not have flying or snare, there's a 50% dodge chance just immediately. 25% from flying, 25% for dodge. So it could be kind of one of those cheap tanks that you throw up there just trying to get some dodges. It's fairly fast at 5 speed, maxed out, and 3 speed up front. So, and then you're getting a decent chunk of damage. 3 damage for 3 mana is not bad at all. So kind of a little bit of a dodge tank up there that could be useful. Okay, then we've got, this is one that we've already seen. I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to go into it too in-depth. Vampiric Blossom. To me, I love it because it's the llama cube killer, or just a cube killer in general, with that death blow doing 2 times damage if they're the only card left, if there's only one monster on the other side. Oppress does double damage if there's no attack. So when you get like a last stand cube, this does 4 times damage, 12 damage. Oh, it's got that immunity so it can stay alive in the Noxious Fumes. The Noxious Fumes battles, which is where you see that llama cube. And immunity is good even outside of Noxious Fumes. There's so many debuffs out there. This immunity is a very strong ability, but particularly in the Noxious Fumes rule set, I see this being a card I use very frequently. So very niche card, but it's one that I like. Okay, where are we at here? Oh, we've got Volk Wine. I'm sure I mispronounced that. And this card's very, very interesting. So only costs 2 mana. Has 3 attack for 2 mana. That's a very good damage to mana ratio. Very, very good. It's got, I mean, average speed, only 4 health though. So can you really use that as a tank up front? I don't know, it's only got 4 health. It's not gonna have a lot of speed to go first. But then it's got this Scavenger. It can dodge. Again, you can have some dodge to help it tank. You've got Scavenger, which is going to allow it to increase its health a little bit. And then you have Enrage. So if we're using a dodge, it's gonna get a little bit faster. It's gonna have 5 attack at max level when it's enraged. So if you can get this thing a little bit of health with Scavenge, and then let it become enraged and have some chance to dodge, there could be some real value there for only 2 mana. So it looks like it might be tricky to get that value out of it, but in the right situations, that can be a beast of a card. It could be a really good card there. So, and I'm thinking if you get, especially if you get in like an Equalizer rule set where it can then start out with a lot of health and it has room to get enraged, which will then give it some more speed and allow it to dodge a little bit more. Have a bunch of damage, maybe you can get a few kills. Its health starts to increase some more. I don't know. Maybe a rule set where melee can attack from anywhere. You can put it in the 2nd or 3rd spot so that by the time it gets up to the front, it's gained a little bit of health from that life leech as other cards have died off, and now it can be a good secondary, tertiary tank. I can see some use for it. I can absolutely see some use for it there. All right, Jared Scar, here's another legendary card. We have more Bloodlust. We have 7 attack for 7 mana. That is crazy. 7 attack on a card that's not all that much, doesn't cost all that much mana. Unfortunately, it is slow, but it does have True Strike. That's going to allow it to not miss. We've seen that problem with Grum, right? This is kind of like a mini Grum in a way. So it's got that True Strike, so you don't run into the same dodge problem that Grum has. It's got Piercing, so it doesn't waste any of that damage on some armor or something like that. It can get that Piercing. If it starts to get some Bloodlust and stacks up some more attack, he could be very, very very deadly. So we'll see, but he is, as far as sticking up front, 6 health, 2 armor. That's not great stats for a tank. So you guys have seen me use some strategies with Desert Dragon, for example, where I put it's kind of slow and weak up front, but it can do a ton of damage. So I stick it up front, I put some taunts in the back. Well, we could go like Shield Bearer in the back using Chancius, who's got the repairs, got the triage, can help keep Shield Bearer alive. So the same way I use Dark Han to protect cards like Desert Dragon, that's a very common combo I've used. I can see myself doing the same thing around Jared Scar, so I can't wait to test that out and see how that works. I'm excited. This looks like a fun card. Looks like a very fun card. Okay, on to a death. Speaking of death, okay, Ever Hungry Skull. We've seen this one already. Looks like a beast in your equalizer mode, in your rule sets where magic is banned. Yeah, I can see niche uses for this with all that armor. 11 armor. 11 armor! Going to be susceptible to something like Shatter, or in just a regular rule set, magic damage. You get 1 magic damage and it's gone. Or like the rule set where you've got weak magic, where magic has to go through armor. Then you've got some Return Fire and Thorns. So if you're not expecting a lot of magic damage, or you've got some of these other rule sets, again, very niche card, but it looks like it's got some strong use cases. I absolutely like it. Revealer, an epic card here that has, once again, our Reflection Shield. So in this case, you don't have to worry about Magic Reflect, or Blast. Immunity, we've seen this with Hardclaw. Immunity in the Death Splinter is very strong. When you have rule sets that, or maybe Death's the only Splinter that can be played, or the battle conditions are favorable to playing a Death team, or we might see a Death team on the other side as well. Death has a lot of debuffs, so having immunity in the Death Splinter, I like that quite a bit. I really like that, and then the stun's obviously pretty valuable. So the stats itself, not necessarily overwhelming. 2 magic damage, pretty slow, only 5 speed. Feels like this could be a good reverse speed card. Getting a fairly quick stun out there. I can see myself using it in reverse speed. Yeah, I can definitely see that there. Again, if Splinter's the only thing available and you're expecting death cards on the other side, having that immunity. Oh, and then we see like Ouster. We see lots of cards with Reflect. Having that Reflection Shield to help keep it alive. I can see myself using it. Not something that I'm overwhelmed by, but I feel like it's got some niche cases. This is the card I was most excited about because I just like my assassin type cards. That's kind of that's the type of character that I always like to play as when I'm playing the RPG games or that type of thing. And so we have a rare dragon unit. It's good to see some more dragons that are not legendary. So having a rare one, because if you have, for example, if you have a rule set where you can only play commons and rares, or you can't play legendaries, a lot of times dragon isn't the most useful because most of their cards are legendary, except some of the reward cards. We've got another rare, and we've got Double Strike. Seeing Double Strike on an assassin, I absolutely love it. I mentioned earlier, Cripple. I don't normally like Cripple, but when you're attacking the back line, I like Cripple a lot more. Here we're going to be attacking the back line with the Sneak and this Double Strike. Thing I worry about with this card, it's only got 4 health. If there's any thorns in the back back line, which is very common for people to try and defend against sneak with some thorns. If there's thorns back there, that double strike is going to be a suicide strike against thorns. That is my big concern with this card. I wish this card had could block our thorns damage. This would have been perfect to put it on. So, and then affliction's going to block again if you're attacking the back line. We'll block that triage. So it's gonna be interesting to see how much I use this card, because that's my big concern is thorns in the back will just absolutely destroy this card, and thorns in the back is relatively common. So I like it, but I've got that one big fear there, and we'll see if that fear prevents me from using it a lot or not. I mean, this is kind of like a mini Silver Shield Assassin. So we'll see. I do like the Silver Shield Assassin. I don't have that card maxed out, but I can see myself using this or getting, again, I've run lots of sneak teams. Throwing this in with Dragon Sneak could be a nice little touch. So, and then neutral, we've got one neutral. Where's it at? Here it is. A legendary neutral reward card. Only 2 mana, but this guy's like a great support card. So his one attack, you're probably not going to be, again, you might have some rule sets where melee can attack from the back line, but I don't see him being in there for his attack or his speed. Amplify. This is a cheap Amplify, which could be very useful. 2 mana Amplify. I can definitely see myself fitting that in. There's a lot of times where I want to get some Amplify in, but you just don't have the mana to do so. Amplify and slow for only 2 mana. I feel like there's a use case there. I definitely feel like there's a use case. And the interesting thing about this card is it has camouflage, so you can't take it out with opportunity or sneak or something like that. It has reflection shield, so you can't take it out with a thorns. You can't take it out with blast. Sometimes that's the way. Like we compared this to like Dr. Blight is a common card that has camouflage that gets used a lot. Dr. Blight will sometimes die to the reflect damage. It will sometimes die to some blast damage if you're hitting the card beside it, or if you have some sneak and blast on a Jotun team or something like that. About the only way you can take this guy out before he gets to the front is maybe if you get a trample, like if you got a trample sneak combination and this guy's behind the sneak card, you can trample a camouflage card. That's the only way that comes to mind. For it's got immunity as well, so noxious fumes, it's not going to be taken out or anything like that. So I'm very interested to see how much this one gets used, because I definitely see slow plus amplify 2 mana. I feel like that's worth the 2 mana for the debuffs there, and he's gonna stay alive. You're not gonna be able to just quickly take out that support card. So I do like it. I absolutely like it. That's it, guys. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. Which ones are your favorite? I know I like the fire cards. I like the fire cards quite a bit with the Jotun team. There's a lot to like here. There is definitely a lot to like here, and I don't see anything that's overpowered, like, oh, this is absolutely going to change the game. But I see a lot of things that can be used, a lot of things that, again, have niche uses, which is a lot of times what they're going for. We don't want this to just be oh, this card's just super powerful, we've got power creep, it's going to be thrown out there all the time. But, okay, we want different cards to be useful for different lineups, for different rule sets, so it's not always playing the exact same cards over and over again and just spamming the most powerful teams, the most powerful cards. And I think they're doing some things to accomplish that. I think we're going to find some nice teams with these, and I'm very excited to see how it goes. So let me know what you think. I will, if you're a Mav, come to the test server, start testing things out. I will see you guys there.